Welcome back. It's exactly 8:40 a.m. News and Views on Salam Media, and we're crossing over to speak with Dr. Ofer Cassif. He holds a PhD in political science from the London School of Economics with a research focus on Marxist approaches to nationalism. We're going to be looking at his personal background in activism, political challenges and actions, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and lots more. Let's first welcome him to the show and ask him where exactly is he based. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Can I ask where you're based, please?
Yes, it's a city called Rehovot, which is about 30 kilometers southeast from Tel Aviv.
Okay, let's start off by understanding your journey as a lifelong anti-Zionist activist and advocate for Palestinian rights.
Well, that goes back, I think that since I began to understand, I was not raised in an anti-Zionist family or very political family, but I began to develop my political consciousness. I believe around 15, 16 years old, but still I was then, in the so-called left Zionism, because it took me some time to break out of the brainwash that we are all victims of here, the education system, the media, etc. So I did serve in the Israeli army in the compulsory. Again, if I had my views and consciousness, if I had the views and consciousness that I have now, then obviously I would have not gone. But then I did, and throughout the service, I did develop more radical leftist views. Thereafter, when I finished and I went to the university, the first Intifada began, and then when I was called, to serve as a reservist, I refused and went to prison. Altogether, I've been in prison 4 times for refusing to serve in the occupied Palestinian territories. And then I joined this party in Hadash, which is the Democratic Front for Peace and Equality. And then I can say that I developed my anti-Zionist and my communist views, which I still hold. And ever since, for more than 30 years, I've been an activist in Hadash and in anti-occupation organizations. And obviously now I raised the loudest voice I can against the genocide and the ethnic cleansing that go on in Gaza, and the ethnic cleansing that also goes on in the West Bank.
And that's come at a huge price for you, has it not? Because you face significant challenges in the Knesset. You've also said that you've been jailed over time, 4 times, because of the radical views that you hold, including suspension and impeachment attempts. How do you navigate such resistance while remaining committed to your principles?
That's a brilliant question. It's not easy, obviously. The anti-apartheid movement and the heroes in South Africa, especially people like Joe Slovo and Chris Hani, Mandela, of course, they are my mentors to a great extent, So I look at those people and at others, people who fought against Nazism and against fascism all over the place, against racism in the United States and elsewhere. Those are my mentors. I just look at them and I say, if they paid such a huge price, much higher than I, so I can do that and I must do that. And so again, it's not easy, but I'm committed. I'm committed because that's the just and the right thing to do. And even if I pay a price, so be it. I mean, the people of Gaza, for instance, pay the ultimate price. Who am I to shut my eyes or turn my back on them when they are dying in agony, when they are bombarded on a daily basis, when they are starved, when any kind of a little even humanitarian aid is blocked, when entire families are wiped out of earth, how can I shut up? To be suspended from the Knesset, it's a very, very low price in comparison to the price that the Palestinians have been paying in their struggle for liberty.
You also went on to support South Africa's ICJ case against the genocide. And of course, its potential to hold Israel accountable for alleged violations. This, again, I repeat what I said earlier, has cost you a lot regarding your position. And undoubtedly, I think you'll be marginalized by Zionists in Israel itself. How do you manage to kind of navigate day-to-day life, knowing that all of this stands or the Zionists are very, very against you? And there are obviously implications on your family as well.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm grateful to my family and to my comrades and friends at the Communist Party and Hadash for their support. Without their support, it would have been even harder, you know. And but with their support, they, you know, assist me in navigating, as you said, throughout those, you know, difficulties. On the other hand, obviously, as you said correctly, there are things that I cannot do. For instance, I cannot go walk down the street where I live because it's dangerous for me. There were attempts to attack me physically more than once when I, for instance, went to the barber shop once. So I have to refrain from things that I like to do and things that I used to do in the past. But as I said before, I'm ready to pay this price and even you know, a more expensive price, as it were, in this just struggle for, you know, the liberation of the Palestinian people, for ending the genocide and other atrocities, and to, of course, eventually to achieve the establishment of an independent Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel and live in peace. The two peoples, Israelis and Palestinians, share this land and must live in peace and justice, because real peace requires justice.
Dr. Cassif, having just made the statement that you have, do you truly believe we could reach a point sometime in the future, let's hope and pray in the near future, that there could be peace in Palestine, in Israel? Can the two peoples live in peace and harmony side by side? And what do you believe should we be looking at a two-state solution? Would that be fair? Would that once again outstrip Palestinians of their rights, their equal rights? Or do you believe it should be, a one-state solution, thereby giving everybody equal say and equal rights in the running of the country as a whole?
Look, I must be optimistic, because if I'm not, so that would take away the wind, you know, behind my, the wind that pushes me in my struggle. Of course, not only me. I'm talking about the party and comrades, etc. So I must be optimistic, and I am. And I'm not naive, but I am optimistic. Now, it reminds me, that Nelson Mandela famously said that people are not born to hate. They are learned or educated to hate. To hate. And if they can be educated to hate, they can also be educated to love. And I think that's the most important thing he said, and that to teach people to love is much easier than teaching people to hate, because it's more natural to human beings. I do believe in this stance of Nelson Mandela, and I think that what we should do in order to teach people to love is to remove, to eliminate evil, to eliminate injustice, because people hate not only if they are taught to hate, but also if they live in unbearable circumstances and conditions that make them full of hate against their oppressors. So we have to get rid of the oppression, first and foremost because it's evil in itself, but also because it leads to more evil. So in that sense, I believe we can do that if we fight together against evil, Palestinians and Jews together, Arabs and Israelis, and the international community, for the benefit of all people who live in this land, no matter what their origins, nationality, race, religion, gender, etc. is. Everybody is a human being. I truly believe in the equality of human beings as a whole. That's my basis. This humanistic socialism, in my view, that's the basis of my opinion. Now, my comrades and I, we do not have an ideological objection to the one-state solution, but we do believe that the two-state solution is a must. It must be at least as a phase. And if afterwards, upon consent of everybody who is involved, there is a will to remove forward and to transform the two states into, say, a federation, one state, etc., so be it. But two-state solution is a must, at least as a stage, because we are talking about, first, more than 100 years of hostility, unfortunately cannot be, eliminated in one day. I wish it could. Secondly, the Palestinian people are entitled to their own self-determination and statehood. But that doesn't say that the Israeli state and the Israeli society should stay as is, because no, our view is very, very clear for many, many years. Alongside the establishment of a Palestinian independent sovereign state in the old territories Israel occupied in 1967, Israel itself must be transformed into a real democracy. It must be democratized to the extent that everybody is treated as equal, including the 21% of Palestinians, of course, who live in Israel. There's no equality at the moment. There must be equality.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I've got my next guest standing by. I have so many more questions for you, and I'm hoping to talk with you again real soon. Very especially your focus on Marxist approaches. And do you believe that could work in that part of the world? But let's leave that for another time. Thank you for your insights. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you so very much for having me, and have a nice day.
Thank you. It is 8:53 News and Views moving along. We do have another guest standing by. So a very short, quick break, and then we'll hook up with our next guest.